A pair of winning performances make this true crime thriller one to watch. Let's talk about The Order. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film, The Order. This features, among others, Jude Law and Nicholas Hoult, both giving really great performances about two men on the opposite side of the law. We'll get into all of this here momentarily. First, though, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you are one of my subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Love having you guys return to the channel. But if you're not, please consider subscribing, click that notification bell, or just like this video, comment below. That stuff, of course, helps the channel out as well. So this is a real story based in the 1980s, and it's based on a book called The Silent Brotherhood, which is, the story of these crimes. But the film version, directed by Justin Kurzel, and he has a little bit of history with true crime movies. He did The True History of the Kelly Gang, which was a pretty decent movie. He also did the very bad movie version of Assassin's Creed about 8 years ago, but maybe his wheelhouse is these more true crime thriller type films, a bit more gripping, I think, than the Assassin's Creed movie was, at least in my opinion. But you've got Jude Law here playing an Idaho FBI agent who is spotting a pattern in recent things like bank robberies and armored car heists, which are going all up and down the Pacific Northwest, and he is trying to prove that it is not the work of a traditional organized crime unit, but a radical group of white supremacists and Nazis led by this dude, Bob Matthews, who is played by Nicholas Hoult. And so Jude Law is the FBI agent. Also in this movie, you've got Jurnee Smollett, who, of course, we know from Friday Night Lights and a few other things. Ty Sheridan, who I have not seen in quite a while, but he was in one of my all-time favorite movies, Mud, and then he also starred in Ready Player One. That was probably his highest profile role. So it's nice to see him back. He is a young local police officer that the FBI agent Terry kind of teams up with. And you also have Mark Maron as Alan Berg, who is a radio host who is targeted because he is Jewish and speaks, on this radio show about his faith and all of this. And not a stretch for Mark Maron, one of the top podcasters of our time, right? But setting it back in the 80s when he was starting his stand-up career, kind of nice there with the dovetailing. But all right, let's talk about the two performances, because it's what I mentioned up at the top of the video, and I think it's probably the most compelling thing about this story. And we'll get into some of the things that work for the story and that don't. But these two lead performances, I mean, Jude Law, has really become a lot like, for me, Colin Farrell, somebody who started out doing more like mainstream, rom-com type movies, or, for Colin Farrell, it was things like Phone Booth that were just sort of gimmicky or whatever. But both of them, and they're, right around the same age, they kind of came out into the movies around the same time. So I sort of associate the two of them, but both of them have been turning in really, really interesting work lately. And this one for Jude Law is one of his better performances in recent years. I thought he was great here as this dude. His character, unfortunately, is one of the negatives of the story. Well, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but let me talk about Nicholas Hoult now. He got his start in About a Boy when he was just a kid, and we've seen his career blossom over the many, many years as well, doing, both comedy and action and, even some horror stuff. And he's not talked about that much as, like, a very versatile actor, but he really is. And he's great here. He is very menacing, but at the same time, what's interesting about the script that I think does work, so we can maybe pivot into that, is that even though he is obviously a bastard and, a white supremacist and a Nazi and all of these, horrible, horrible things, even though he is that character, we see in him that he really believes in what he's doing, and that maybe is not a positive, because obviously he's doing horrible things. But the genius of the script itself, and it does have some flaws that we'll get into, but is that of these two men, they both really are trying to do the right thing, in their own mind. They're going about it, I think, in different ways. Nicholas Holt's character is obviously, not only delving into that horrible, horrible place, but, cheating on his wife and, knocking up his mistress and all of these other things. But in his mind, he's doing the right thing. He's doing it for the right reasons and all of this. And I actually wish they studied that a little bit more, because it was one of the things I think that did set this movie a little bit apart from a lot of other true crime movies where, they're just obviously making this person, the big bad villain, which he is, but it's a little more nuanced than that, right? So I thought that was interesting. What I didn't like about the characterizations is there's a few things with Jude Law's character that are sort of like little quirky things, like he gets nosebleeds a couple of times in the movie, and there's some like bizarre things about his background that the Jurnee Smollett character kind of alludes to, but we never dive deeper at all into any of that. And so I thought, maybe we were going to go somewhere with the nosebleeds and okay, he's got some health issues or whatever. Nah, it happens a couple of times and then leaves it leaves it on the table. So I don't know if there's like maybe a couple of deleted scenes that would have given us a little bit more with that character, and his background and whatever, because he comes up as a bit of a question mark, and Jude Law plays him very well. Like it seemed to me that he at least knew the character's background and what we, the audience, maybe weren't privy to, and that's in his performance. You could see that, but I would have liked to know a little bit maybe more about what these little crumbs that they're leaving are all about, because that part didn't quite work for me. But he plays it very well, so I think he probably knows what's going on with that character better than we in the audience do. But other than that, look, some of this is kind of boilerplate, crime thriller type stuff, cop chase the bad guy kind of thing, but it's done very well. It's shot well, and like I mentioned over and over, the acting is really top notch from these two leads. So I leave the Order with a B+, and this is something you can check out in theaters right now. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time. Bye.